Ethan Vance, aged 67, was a retired architect from New York City. He had spent his entire life in the bustling metropolis, commuting daily amidst the towering Manhattan skyscrapers from dawn till late at night. Accompanied by blueprints and models, this was the sum of his existence at his New York City architecture firm. He was highly praised for his unique design philosophy, rising to the position of senior associate with a quite generous salary. To outsiders, Ethan Vance's life was enviable, but deep down, he always felt a profound and unfillable emptiness. Is this truly the life I want? Every evening, gazing at the dazzling lights of the NYC nightscape from his window, Ethan Vance would ask himself this question. From a young age, Ethan Vance's true interest was in traveling the world and experiencing different cultures. In his youth, he participated in a short-term exchange program, visiting several countries in Southeast Asia, where the natural scenery and local customs deeply captivated him. He was particularly fascinated by the traditional village life on the island of Java, Indonesia. One day, I must live there for a while. This dream continued to grow in his heart. Finally, at the age of 67, he made a bold decision. He sold most of his belongings, took his lifelong savings, and boarded a flight to Indonesia. Those around him advised him against being impulsive, but he had already made up his mind to pursue his Indonesian pastoral dream. Life is short, live it to the fullest. Ethan Vance first arrived in Jakarta, the capital of Indonesia, and began learning Indonesian and understanding the local culture. But his real destination was Sarasvati village in central Java. During his travels, he heard rumors about the existence of villages in certain remote areas of Indonesia inhabited only by women. Men went to the cities for work and never came back. Do places like that really exist? This question lingered in his mind. Eventually, Ethan Vance found a local guide in Jakarta, and with the guide's lead, he headed towards the central region of Java. Yes, such villages exist, but they are very remote and the roads are difficult. Also, the people there are very wary of outsiders. The guide's warning didn't deter Ethan Vance. Instead, it further piqued his curiosity. After buying a motorcycle in Jakarta, he rode alone along the rugged mountain paths, heading towards that remote small village. The guide only accompanied him for a section of the journey. Ethan Vance had to complete the rest alone. From here, the road is very difficult. I'm not familiar with the road ahead either. After saying goodbye to the guide, Ethan Vance rode his motorcycle, climbing the narrow mountain path. A heavy rainstorm had fallen a few days prior, making the road muddy and the motorcycle's tires constantly slipping. Although the journey was difficult, intense curiosity and the desire for a new life drove him forward. Suddenly, the sky turned dark, and a torrential rain poured down. With the road barely visible, Ethan Vance's motorcycle skidded, and he nearly plunged off a cliff. He managed to grab onto a tree by the roadside, saving his life, but the motorcycle tumbled into the valley. What do I do now? Ethan Vance was drenched. Looking around, he could see nothing but trees and mist. He felt his strength rapidly draining away and began to lose consciousness. Is anyone there? Help! His final cry echoed in the valley. He didn't know how much time had passed, but Ethan Vance was awakened by the warm sound of a bonfire. He lay in a simple bamboo hut, and a young Indonesian woman, appearing to be in her 20s, named Luna, sat beside him. You're awake. That's wonderful. The woman wore the unique traditional attire of Sarasvati village and spoke to him in Indonesian. Ethan Vance was groggy and asked where he was. Where is this? Did you save me? The woman smiled and replied, This is Sarasvati village. The village hunters found you on the mountain. You were close to dying. Ethan Vance tried to get up, but he felt pain all over and had to lie down again. The woman handed him a cup of tea brewed from herbs. Drink this, you'll feel a bit better. I'm Luna, the village herbalist. Ethan Vance took a sip of the tea and then introduced himself. My name is Ethan Vance. I am from the United States. Thank you very much for saving me. Luna nodded. American, that's interesting. Few outsiders come to our village, especially men. Ethan Vance looked puzzled, and Luna continued to explain. There are almost only women in our village, very few men. Ethan Vance's eyes widened. This was exactly the village he was looking for. Really? How did this happen? Luna sighed. A long time ago, to make a living, The men from the village went to the cities for work. Then few of them ever returned. Some even started new families in the cities and completely abandoned the village. Now, only a few elderly people and young children are left in our village. Luna's story shocked Ethan Vance. The rumors he had heard were true. The next day, Ethan Vance's physical condition improved, and he was able to get out of bed and walk around. Luna took him on a tour of the village. The scenery was breathtaking. This small village was nestled in a valley in central Java, consisting of about 50 simple bamboo huts, and the residents were almost all women. Although children and the elderly could also be seen, there were almost no young men there. There isn't a single man in our village between the ages of 18 and 45. So many young women are unable to marry. Luna's explanation further shocked Ethan Vance. As he walked through the village, many women looked at him with curious eyes. Some shyly greeted him, while others whispered and giggled. It had been almost 10 years since the last outsider, especially a young man, had visited this village. Arriving at the village center, the village chief, a woman in her 60s named Bunda Ayu, welcomed Ethan Vance. She was the oldest person in the village and responsible for all major village affairs. "Welcome to Sarasvati Village, old American gentleman. Luna has told me about your situation. How are you feeling?" Ethan Vance bowed respectfully and replied, "Much better. Thank you very much for saving me." Bunda Ayu smiled and said, "Although our village is poor, we value guests greatly. Especially helping someone in danger like you is our responsibility." Ethan Vance visited every corner of the village and was gradually attracted by the local way of life. The women here farmed the land, wove handicrafts, and gathered medicinal herbs, living a self-sufficient life. But their lives didn't seem easy. Farming or carrying heavy objects is very difficult for women. These were originally things that men should do. Luna explained to Ethan Vance, sighing. That evening, Ethan Vance had dinner with the villagers. During the communal meal, he introduced himself as a retired architect from the United States and explained why he had come to Indonesia. "I traveled to seek a new life, and I'm very interested in Indonesian traditional culture." The villagers were interested in his story and asked him many questions. "We heard the United States is a very developed country. We've seen American TV shows and heard that American people are very friendly," a young woman said. Ethan Vance smiled and told them more stories about the United States. The villagers were deeply captivated by his stories, and the dinner ended in a pleasant atmosphere. The next day, Ethan Vance's condition improved, and he began helping the villagers with what he could. He first inspected the village's irrigation system. The village had a small canal, but it was old and in disrepair, making the water supply unstable. "Perhaps I can fix it. I learned some basic civil engineering knowledge before." Ethan Vance spent several days repairing the canal, finally restoring the irrigation for the entire village. The villagers were amazed by his abilities, and Ethan Vance gradually became an important member of the village. "Mr. Vance, you are truly amazing. You helped us so much," Luna said with a grateful tone. Ethan Vance smiled shyly. "It was nothing. I just did what I could." While living in the village, Ethan Vance developed a strong interest in handicrafts. The women of the village were skilled at making beautiful batik and woven goods, but they struggled with no sales channels, making life very difficult. Such exquisite works, if they could be sold, it would definitely improve everyone's lives. Ethan Vance remembered the connections he had built in New York City and began thinking about how to help them. "I can teach you how to sell online." Ethan Vance began teaching the villagers computer skills and online marketing techniques. Using his laptop, he helped them set up a simple website and uploaded photos of the handicrafts online. Then he promoted them through social media. This is truly magical. Our things can actually be sold all over the world. The women were excited by Ethan Vance's idea, and more orders poured in. Ethan Vance suggested they form a cooperative and distribute all profits fairly. "Let's form a Sarasvati cooperative together. Everyone works together and prospers together." Bunda Ayu listened to Ethan Vance's suggestion and convened a village meeting. All the women in the village gathered to discuss Ethan Vance's proposal. After some discussion, most of the women agreed to form the cooperative. "Mr. Vance, your arrival is truly a gift from heaven. We have decided to accept your proposal. Let's work together." Bunda Ayu officially announced the decision, and the entire village cheered with joy. Several months after the cooperative was established, the village atmosphere was completely refreshed. The women worked harder, and their income gradually increased. Ethan Vance also taught them knowledge about quality management, design improvement, and marketing, which the women quickly learned. Mr. Vance, thanks to you, our village has undergone such a huge change. We are truly grateful, Luna said to Ethan Vance one evening. They sat by the small river near the village, looking up at the starry sky. No, Luna, this is the result of everyone's collective effort. I just helped a little, Ethan Vance replied humbly. Luna was silent for a moment, then carefully said, Mr. Vance, our village has a big problem. Ethan Vance looked at Luna with a puzzled expression. What problem? Luna sighed and said, Our village is facing the crisis of disappearing. Because there are no young men, the village population is gradually decreasing, especially women our age. Many are unable to marry and have children. Only then did Ethan Vance understand the true problem of the village. Besides economic difficulties, there was the even more severe problem of population decline. So the villagers were so warm to me, Luna nodded shyly. Many women are interested in you, but according to our tradition, it's hard to say directly. Ethan Vance felt a bit flustered, but also understood the villagers' plight. I don't know what to do. Luna cautiously took Ethan Vance's hand. I am not forcing you to do anything. I just hope you can understand our village's situation. If you are also willing. That night, Ethan Vance stayed awake all night. He kept thinking about Luna's words and deeply pondered the future of the village. He recalled the reason he left New York City again. What is the life I truly want? When he woke up the next morning, Ethan Vance felt more certain than ever before. This was the meaningful life he had been searching for. He wanted to help the villagers form new families with them and contribute to the village's revival. The next morning, Ethan Vance visited Bunda Au. Chief Bunda Au, I want to understand more about the village's situation. Bunda Au invited him into her home and brewed him some Javanese coffee. Our village used to have over 200 people, but now there are fewer than 100 left, most of whom are women, the elderly, and children. There are about 30+ women of marriageable age, but they cannot find suitable partners, so they cannot have children. Ethan Vance was shocked by these numbers. Will the village disappear? Bunda Au nodded. Our Sarasvati villagers are somewhat reluctant to marry outsiders, but you are different. You have helped our village, and everyone trusts you. Moreover, you are a kind person. Ethan Vance fell into deep thought. He felt that he was someone this village truly needed, and at the same time, he felt that living here was very meaningful to him. What can I do for you? Bunda Au's eyes sparkled. Do you really think so? Ethan Vance answered seriously. I am not entirely certain yet, but I want to help this village, and I also want to start a new life here. Bunda Au excitedly clasped his hand. Tonight, I will hold a village meeting, and we will discuss it thoroughly there. That evening, in the village square, a grand village meeting was held. Almost all the villagers attended, and Ethan Vance also sat among them. Bunda Au introduced the current situation of the village and the contributions Ethan Vance had made to it. Mr. Vance has given our village great help. Now he also wants to help us solve the biggest problem facing the village, which is the problem of population decline. Murmurs of surprise and anticipation passed through the villagers. Ethan Vance nervously stood up. I have learned a lot from your village and have been deeply moved by everyone's kindness. I want to stay here, help everyone, and I want to become a part of your village and contribute my strength to solving the population problem. After Ethan Vance finished speaking, whispering broke out among the villagers. Some couldn't hide their joy, while others looked puzzled. In what way do you intend to help us? A woman cautiously asked. Ethan Vance's face flushed red as he answered. I understand that there are many unmarried women in the village. If you are willing, I want to form families with you all. Instantly, the entire village fell silent. Then Bunda Au stepped forward. Mr. Vance, what exactly do you mean? Ethan Vance took a deep breath and replied, I want to marry multiple women, have children, and together contribute to the village's development. Of course, this must only happen with everyone's consent, and I will do my utmost to bear all responsibilities. The villagers' expressions were a mixture of surprise and anticipation. Some elders looked worried, But most young women looked at Ethan Vance with hopeful eyes. Bunda Au spoke again. This is a very important decision, and everyone needs to consider it fully. Please think about it yourselves until tomorrow, and then we will gather again to make a decision. The meeting ended just like that, and Ethan Vance returned to his dwelling, deep in thought. His proposal was not made on impulse. Over the past few months, he had lived in this village, deeply attracted by the warmth and communal spirit here. Unlike the fast-paced and emotionally indifferent life in New York City, here everyone helped each other and lived together, which deeply touched his heart. Do I really want this life? After a sleepless night of reflection, when Ethan Vance woke up in the morning, he was more certain than ever before. This was the meaningful life he had been searching for. He wanted to help the villagers form new families with them and contribute to the village's revival. The next evening, the villagers gathered again. More people attended this time, and the atmosphere was more serious than the day before. Chief Bunda Au presided over the meeting. Yesterday, everyone fully considered Mr. Ethan Vance's proposal. Now it is time for us to make a decision. First, let's hear the opinions of the women of marriageable age. One after another, young women stood up and expressed their thoughts. Most said they were willing to accept Ethan Vance's proposal, but some still held a cautious attitude. I trust Mr. Vance. He has done so much for our village, and I also want to form a family with him, said a young woman in her 20s named Putri. She was an excellent batik artisan. I also agree with this proposal. Our village needs future generations, and if we can be with Mr. Vance, our village can be full of vitality again, added City, a woman in her early 30s. She was a herbal doctor and worked with Luna, responsible for the village's medical care. But not all women were in favor of the proposal. I don't feel ready yet. I need some more time, said Maya, a woman in her early 20s. She was one of the youngest women in the village. After collecting the opinions of all the women, out of 35 eligible women, a total of 25 women expressed their willingness to accept Ethan Vance's proposal. The remaining 10 women said they needed more time to consider or were not ready yet. Bunda Au summarized all the women's opinions, and then she walked up to Ethan Vance. Mr. Vance, did you hear? 25 women want to form families with you. This is a huge responsibility. Are you truly certain? Ethan Vance nodded with a firm gaze. Yes, I am very certain. I am willing to do my best to respect every woman and contribute my strength to the village's development. Bunda Au was silent for a moment, then said, in our traditional culture, something like this has never happened. However, our current situation is very special. It concerns the survival of our village. I will convene a meeting of the elders and make the final decision. The next day, the village elders gathered for a long meeting. They needed to consider Ethan Vance's proposal, the village's current situation, and the village's traditional culture to make the final decision. After a morning of discussion, Bunda Au announced the elders' final decision to the villagers. We have decided to accept Mr. Ethan Vance's proposal. However, we have several conditions. First, all unions must be based on voluntariness. Second, Mr. Ethan Vance must respect and learn our culture and traditions. Third, all children must be raised jointly by the village, and Mr. Ethan Vance must act as the father to all children and fulfill his responsibilities. Ethan Vance solemnly accepted all the conditions and made a promise before the villagers. I will be a part of the village, fulfill all my responsibilities, respect everyone's culture and traditions, and cherish every woman and child. Let us work together to create a better future for our village. After he finished speaking, the entire village erupted in cheers. They finally saw hope. The village weddings were conducted according to local traditional customs. Ethan Vance wore local traditional clothing and held weddings with the 25 women one after another. Each wedding lasted for 3 days, and the entire village was immersed in a festive atmosphere. Our village hasn't been this lively in a long time, Bunda Au said with tears of excitement. The elderly in the village also shed tears of joy. In their eyes, they saw the future of the village. After the weddings, Ethan Vance officially became a member of the village. As the leader of the cooperative, he led the village towards prosperity while also forming new families together with his 25 wives. Initially, everything felt strange and difficult to him. Maintaining marital relationships with 25 women, overcoming cultural differences, and handling the village's daily affairs were not easy tasks. But as time went on, Ethan Vance gradually adapted to village life, and the bonds with the villagers grew deeper. It was really difficult at first, but now I truly feel that this is my home, Ethan Vance said to Luna. Luna was his first wife and his most trusted companion. A few months later, one piece of good news after another arrived in the village. First, Putri announced her pregnancy, followed by City and other women also bringing happy news of pregnancy. The entire village was once again immersed in an atmosphere of joy. Our village will have new babies soon. It's practically a miracle. The women were ecstatic and congratulated each other. Ethan Vance was also incredibly excited about the fact that he was about to become a father. I'm really going to be a dad, and of many children, Ethan Vance murmured in disbelief. Luna held his hand and smiled, saying, "You will be a good dad. We will raise these children together." As time went on, Ethan Vance's role became increasingly important. He stabilized the village's economy through the cooperative and also wholeheartedly cared for his pregnant wives. He improved the village's medical conditions and invited doctors from the city to ensure that all women could give birth healthily. Mr. Vance, thanks to you, our village has undergone a tremendous change. We are truly grateful, said Putri, who was 8 months pregnant. Her belly was already very large, and her face was beaming with a happy smile. No, Putri, this is the result of our collective effort. I just did my small part, Ethan Vance replied humbly, but his heart was filled with pride. He felt that he was living a meaningful life in a place where he was truly needed. Finally, the day of the first child's birth arrived. Putri began labor, and the entire village was tense and expectant. The doctor invited from the city and the village's traditional midwife helped her deliver, and Ethan Vance held Putri's hand tightly. Keep going, Putri. We'll see our child soon. After a long labor, a healthy baby boy was finally born. The child's cry echoed through the bamboo hut, and everyone shed tears of joy. Finally, a boy is born in our village. It's truly a miracle. The villagers cheered with excitement, and Ethan Vance was too moved to speak. He carefully held the child, feeling new hope emanating from this little life. What name shall we give the child? Putri asked. Ethan Vance thought for a moment, then replied, I want a name that signifies hope. How do you say hope in Indonesian? It's called harapan, meaning hope and new life, Putri replied. Ethan Vance smiled and nodded. Harapan, what a wonderful name. Our first son, Harapan. After Putri gave birth, the other women also began to deliver in succession. In less than a month, City gave birth to a daughter, followed by the other women also giving birth to their children. The village was filled with the cries of newborns, more vibrant than ever before. Now our village has a future. This is amazing, Bunda Ayu said with tears of excitement. She could finally witness the children of the village grow up healthy and happy with her own eyes. As a father and the village leader, Ethan Vance became even busier. He loved every child equally and did his utmost to provide every child with the care and love they needed. At the same time, he further developed the village's economy through the cooperative, working hard to create a better growth environment for the children. We need to build a school for the children now. We can't let them start behind. Ethan Vance proposed at the village meeting, which was unanimously approved by everyone. They used the cooperative's profits to build a small school in the village and hired teachers from the city. They also improved the village's medical conditions, creating a healthy environment for the children to grow up in. A year later, a total of 23 newborns were born in the village. 13 were boys and 10 were girls, and all were growing up healthy and happy. Ethan Vance was now the father of 23 children, and his life had undergone a revolutionary change. Sometimes I feel like my life in New York City was like a dream. I feel that my current life is the real one, Ethan Vance said to Luna. They watched the children playing in the village square together. Your coming to our village was destiny. Without you, perhaps our village would no longer exist. Luna tightly held Ethan Vance's hand. Ethan Vance smiled at her. If I hadn't met you all, I would never have found true happiness either. It seems we are each other's salvation. Several more years passed, and Surasvati village became one of the most prosperous villages on Java Island. Ethan Vance's eldest son, Harapan, was now in middle school, and the other children were also growing up healthy and happy on their respective paths. Some of them chose to study in the city, but more chose to return to the village to help the cooperative or start new businesses. "Dad, I want to become a doctor and help the people in the village," said Ethan Vance's third daughter, Dewey. She was now 17 and very interested in medicine. "That's a great idea, Dewey. I believe you will become an excellent doctor," Ethan Vance said, stroking his daughter's head. He supported all his children in realizing their dreams and hoped they could bring positive change to the world. Bunda Ayu passed away a few years ago, but her spirit still lived on in this village. Before her death, she officially passed the position of village chief to Ethan Vance, and all the villagers respected and trusted him and were willing to follow him. "Chief, some guests have arrived in the village." One day a young villager came to find Ethan Vance. He was now 67 years old, but still full of vitality. "What guests?" "They are reporters from the United States. They heard the story of our village and want to interview you." Ethan Vance was a bit surprised, but then showed a relieved smile. It had been a long time since he had the chance to speak English with someone from home, but he still remembered his native language. "Please invite them in quickly, I'll be right there." Walking to the village entrance, Ethan Vance met the reporters from the United States. The reporters said they had come to interview him about the story of this American village chief in Indonesia. "Mr. Vance, you left the United States 20 years ago and came to this small village. Please share your experiences over these years," the reporter asked. Ethan Vance thought for a moment, then replied, "My story is simple. I traveled to pursue true happiness and found it here. Rather than saying I saved this village, it's more accurate to say that this village saved me." The reporters seemed moved by his answer, and they walked around, marveling at the sight of the village. Sarasvati Village, under Ethan Vance's leadership, had now become a place where modern facilities and traditional life coexist in harmony. New schools, modern clinics, impressive cooperative office buildings, and countless happy and fulfilling families filled the entire village. But Mr. Vance, for a man to marry so many women and become the father of so many children, this is hard to imagine in the United States. How did you adapt to this life?" the reporter cautiously asked. Ethan Vance thought for a moment, then replied, "At first, it was certainly difficult. However, this was not just about my personal choice. It was about the survival of the entire village. As time went on, we gradually became one big family, and we learned to respect and care for each other. Perhaps this is different from traditional American views, but here I found true happiness and the meaning of life." The reporters were very eager to meet Ethan Vance's large family, and Ethan Vance warmly invited them to his home as guests. His home was actually like a large complex located in the center of the village. Multiple houses were connected together with a spacious courtyard in the middle. The children played freely in the courtyard, while Ethan Vance's wives were busy with their respective tasks. "This is our home. The children grow up together here, and all the adults care for them together," Ethan Vance introduced proudly. The reporters were amazed and took out their cameras to take pictures. The children looked at the guests from afar with curious eyes, and some shyly hid away. "Dad, where did these uncles and aunts come from?" asked Amelia, one of Ethan Vance's youngest daughters. She was 7 years old and working hard to learn English. "They are from the United States, Amelia. That's where Dad was born," Ethan Vance replied in English. Amelia, with curious eyes, greeted the reporters in English. "Hello, uncles and aunts. My name is Amelia." The reporters were touched by Amelia's cuteness and greeted her back. Ethan Vance looked at his daughter proudly. The interview lasted the entire day, with the reporters visiting every corner of the village. They wanted to learn more about Ethan Vance's lifestyle and hear the stories of his wives and children. At first, we were skeptical of Mr. Vance. Accepting an outsider, and a man at that, was a difficult decision for us. But he brought us hope, and now he is highly respected as our husband, father, and leader, Luna said during her interview. As Ethan Vance's first wife, she held a significant position in the village. We were also jealous of each other at first, but we quickly realized that this was not just a matter of personal feelings, but for the future of our village. Now we are like sisters, caring for and helping each other. Putri also shared her experience. 15-year-old Harapan sat beside her. As Ethan Vance's eldest son, Harapan had shown exceptional leadership ability since childhood. I know our family is different from others, but that's not a bad thing. We love and respect each other, and we are building Sarasvati village together. I also want to be like my father and contribute to the future of this village, Harapan said proudly. Ethan Vance looked at his son with pride. On the last day of the interview, the reporters suggested taking a village-wide group photo. Ethan Vance and his 25 wives, along with over 50 children, gathered in the village square. It was a breathtaking sight. Everyone smiled. "Look at the camera," the photographer shouted, and everyone smiled happily. At that moment, Ethan Vance realized once again how wonderfully his life had transformed. After the reporters left, Ethan Vance walked alone to the highest hill in the village. 20 years ago, when he first came to this village, it was poor, backward, and without hope. Now it had become a land full of vitality and hope. His choice had not only brought new life to this village, but also brought him true happiness. "Do you regret it?" Luna walked up beside him and asked softly. Ethan Vance smiled and shook his head. "I have never regretted it. This is my home, and you are my family." Luna tightly held his hand, and the two of them watched the distant sunset together. The sounds of children playing drifted from the village, and the entire Sarasvati village was immersed in an atmosphere of peace and harmony. "Our story will now spread widely in the United States," Luna said. Ethan Vance nodded. "I don't know how people will view our story, but the most important thing is that we are happy. Our way may be unconventional, but we love and respect each other and live our lives to the fullest." After Ethan Vance finished speaking, the sounds of celebration music filled the village. It was Sarasvati village's founding anniversary, and all the villagers were gathered together, singing and dancing, celebrating this special day. "Let's go, the celebration has begun," Luna said. Ethan Vance nodded. Holding hands, they walked towards the village, and the villagers looked at them with admiration and blessings. In the center of the celebration, Ethan Vance was surrounded by children, a happy smile on his face. "Chief, let's lift you up," someone shouted, and the villagers responded, lifting Ethan Vance high into the air. This was their traditional way of celebrating the festival, and Ethan Vance had now become the heart of this tradition. 1, 2, 3. Everyone shouted together, tossing Ethan Vance high, and the entire village cheered. At that moment, Ethan Vance felt like the happiest man in the world. "Thank you, everyone. You are the most wonderful gifts in my life," Ethan Vance said emotionally, and the villagers cheered again. The entire Sarasvati village was immersed in a festive atmosphere, and the children played happily. Ethan Vance looked at all of this and was once again certain that his initial choice had been absolutely correct. 20 years ago, the Ethan Vance who couldn't find meaning in life among the skyscrapers of New York City had now found true happiness and the meaning of life in a small village in Indonesia. His story is about to spread across the United States, inspiring countless people. The happiness of life is often hidden in the most unexpected places, and he, Ethan Vance, found it in Sarasvati village, overcoming all trials and hardships, and finally finding happiness. "This is the story of me and Sarasvati village," Ethan Vance said to all the villagers, and his words resonated with everyone. They held hands, sang, and danced, celebrating until deep into the night, and the entire village was livelier than ever before. The next morning, Ethan Vance woke up early and strolled alone through the village. Sarasvati village, bathed in the morning sunlight, always made him feel a deep sense of peace and happiness within. Although 20 years had passed, he was still deeply captivated by the beauty of this land. "Dad," a familiar voice called from behind him. Ethan Vance turned around and saw his youngest son, Joko, running towards him. Joko was 5 years old this year, and his favorite thing to do was follow behind Ethan Vance for a walk every morning. "Joko, you woke up really early today?" Ethan Vance asked with a smile. Joko nodded vigorously. "I want to see Sarasvati village with Dad." Ethan Vance's face showed a loving smile, and he bent down and picked Joko up. Father and son walked together on the village paths, welcoming the arrival of a new day. "Dad, I love our Sarasvati village the most," Joko said innocently. Ethan Vance nodded, his eyes filled with love. "Yes, Our Sarasvati village is the most beautiful place in the world. They continued walking through the village, watching the villagers gradually wake up and begin their busy day. Ethan Vance's wives also emerged from their respective homes, preparing breakfast. The children also got up one after another and ran to the courtyard to play. Today will also be a beautiful day, Luna said softly as she walked up beside Ethan Vance. Ethan Vance smiled and nodded. Yes, today, tomorrow, and every day in the future will be a day full of hope and beauty. They stood side by side, looking out at Sarasvati village bathed in the morning light, both with happy smiles on their faces. Sarasvati village welcomed another peaceful and hopeful morning. This is a story of a man who abandoned a comfortable life and bravely pursued his dream. Ethan Vance found true happiness in a small village in Indonesia, and in the process, he changed the destiny of the entire village. His story tells us that true happiness can often be found in the most unexpected places. Having experienced countless trials and hardships, he finally found the truth of happiness. This is the story of Ethan Vance and Sarasvati village. They are now a loving family, respecting and supporting each other, and jointly creating a more beautiful future. Thank you for watching. I hope this story can raise your awareness of social issues. If you feel touched, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to my channel. Let's spread positive energy and protect the light together. Thank you.